Hello, and welcome to a conversation between myself, Ruth Ann, and Kellie Berns of Earth Guardians. We'll start off with Kellie telling us about Earth Guardians.
And we started as a accredited high school in Maui in 92. And as organizations evolve, became a nonprofit in the early 2000s. And through the onset of social media, youth all over the world started to catch wind of the Earth Guardians chapter in Boulder, which was part of the original founders' family, the kids were. And they were just doing amazing things like getting pesticides banned in parks, getting a moratorium on fracking, suing the Colorado government, being part of Juliana versus the United States, which is a national climate lawsuit against the fossil fuel companies. And so young people all over the world saw what was happening and they asked, how can we do this? We want to do this too. Can you teach us how to be young environmental land and water protectors? And that's how our cruise program started. And our cruise program is the nexus of Earth Guardians. So it's kind of like the Boys and Girl Scouts of young environmentalists. So we have young people all over the world that create their own little clubs, squads, crews. And then we support them at Earth Guardians with all the resources that I already described. So they can do things like get pesticides banned from parks and get moratoriums on fracking.
Learning more about Earth Guardians, I visited their YouTube channel and then added Earth Guardians as a special collection in our database at Earthsayers. After viewing a number of the videos, I had a couple of questions about one in particular, Rina Kawasaki.
So Reina Kawasaki is from Japan, and she started an Earth Guardians crew when she was 15 years old, right around the same time that she got awarded the Children's Peace Prize for the world.
Hi everyone, my name is Rena Kawasaki and I'm the Regional Director for Earth Guardians Japan. And today I'm super excited to announce that Earth Guardians is partnering with Coachtopia and we are the recipients of Coachtopia's Catalyst Fund. Their donation is going to help us support our hundreds of crews worldwide through our microgrant program that helps and supports crews in their grassroots efforts that ranges anywhere from planting mangroves to advocating for more youth voices to be involved in politics. So I'm super excited about that, and I believe that intergenerational solution making and changes is what is going to make solutions long lasting and more sustainable, and I love that our crews do just that. When I also heard about the Coachtopia beta community, I was super excited to get involved and join a community of inspiring, innovative creatives and activists, and I'm really excited to connect the Japanese activist community with these talented individuals worldwide, and I'm just super excited about this collaboration in general. So thank you for this opportunity.
She did amazing work and is still doing amazing work with her crews in Japan. She is specifically interested in the youth voice in politics and getting young people recognized in a political sphere and teaching young people about journalism. And really, it all is at the intersection of social justice and environmental justice, her work. She is the youngest CFO in Japan, which is pretty amazing. And she's currently a Yale undergraduate. And she has moved from Earth Guardians as a crew leader to our regional director of Japan. So she oversees all of our crews in Japan. We have crews all over different regions of the world. And we have regional crew council members for each region so they can give their crews specific mentorship and advice to the issues of their locality. We have one in Brazil, one in Mexico, Europe, East Africa, West Africa, the United States, and India. That's where all of our regional crew council members are, and they're overseeing our youth crews in those areas of the world. Our crews are all volunteer. We do provide them from our organization with educational resources, trainings, virtual and in person, and then grants to do their work on the ground. We give them a peer network so they can be discussing how to be good land and water protectors with each other across the world, sharing best practices and resources. And they do amazing things with very little. I mean, we have some really incredible projects going on from, like I said, from Japan all the way over across the world to Mexico and Brazil.
I'm going to interject here that all donations made to Earth Guardians are greatly appreciated.
Seeing the video that you showed me today from Tupa, he's our regional crew council member in Brazil. We have a number of crews in Brazil. They have been working on a 7,000 tree planting project over the last few years. And then they do a lot of cultural work with the indigenous people of Brazil to bring indigenous knowledge to the forefront of the climate movement. And we have a real focus on that at Earth Guardians, a focus on indigenous wisdom and the relationship that indigenous people have with the land, and really uplifting that knowledge and disseminating that as a key answer to the climate crisis in sync, in relationship, hand in glove with science and all the data that we're getting around what's happening to the climate and best practices to draw our temperatures down, best practices to keep our water clean, best practices to keep our soil alive and nutritious. So that's a lot of what our crews are focusing on is indigeneity and indigenous knowledge at the intersection with science, and then how you apply that on the ground through mangrove planting, through reforestation, through honey production and pollinator species. Yeah, so on and so forth.
I'd like for you to comment some on the subject of climate justice. We do a lot of talking about climate crisis, the climate emergency, um, and we're not really focusing too much on the justice part.
Thank you, Ruth Ann, for that question. And in our mission statement, we are a climate justice organization, and we are that because what we see through our lens is that the people that are most affected by the climate crisis and the environmental crisis are those that are the least responsible. And that's what we mean by justice, in terms of people from the global south, indigenous people, poor working class people that are in polluted industrial areas. They are the ones that are the most affected and the least responsible for the climate crisis. It is really wealthy corporations and the 1% that are the majority responsible for what we're experiencing because of the industries that they run, because of private jets, because of, you have money, you spend money. And the value of money a lot of the times is based on the earth being seen as a resource and not a source. Whereas indigenous people see Mother Earth as their source. A lot of the folks that are sort of running our global economy right now see Mother Earth as a resource. Her minerals, her oils, her waters, and so on. And so when we talk about climate justice, we're really talking about supporting and giving a voice and a platform to young people and to disenfranchised people who aren't responsible for this crisis, but absolutely should be at the table making policy decisions. Absolutely should be at the table of their city councils. Absolutely should have resources and finances to initiate projects in their communities to fight whatever environmental harm they're personally experiencing, whether it's a refinery or a fracking well or some sort of major industry that's polluting. For myself, it was a paper mill that poisoned the waters near me, and two young women that I live with all got cancer in our early 20s. And then went to research, and a bunch of people along the Pigeon River had gotten really sick for years and years and years from the paper mill in Canton, North Carolina, that only closed a couple of years ago. The Pigeon River was considered the most polluted river in the country for a while because of the amount of pollutants from that factory. So, and Appalachia's poor, poor. It's not a wealthy area, and so those people weren't paid attention to when they were protesting since the early 1900s against this paper mill. So that's what we mean by climate justice, really giving those people that need to have a voice, a platform, a place to tell their stories. And what you and Earthsayers is doing is so important because, like you said, not everybody's going to come to a rally in Canton, North Carolina, but everybody does have access to YouTube, and we are in the information age. And if we can get this information in front of people as opposed to what I think a lot of our feeds are right now is Donald Trump and Elon Musk. If we can get this kind of information in front of people, inspiring information, you use the word inspired, and I feel like that's a lot of what we do is we're talking about good news. We're sharing what our youth are doing. We're inspiring people to take action and then giving young people a platform to do that that might not otherwise have that platform in Sierra Leone, Togo, Zambia, Odisha, India, São Paulo, Brazil, Xochimilco, Mexico,
I,
just to name a few places.
many of us are trying to solve a problem that we've experienced. And so I find that the closer you get to the street, in terms of problem solving, uh, the more interesting and effective are the solutions. And also, you have a certain fire about those solutions, which you require in order to raise money, because it does take money. And to me, it makes the most sense that certainly if I was a client scientist, I would be paying attention to Earth Guardians, and I would be visiting Earth Sayers, and I would be listening to a wide variety of voices. I think Seth Godin, for a tech guy, marketing guru here, talks about, really leaders expand their circle. And I would like to see people that are related to any of the issues around Mother Earth, be it environmental conservation, to social justice, and including certainly culture and consciousness, that we pay attention to our youth, and hear those voices and expand our circles that way. And so I'm really glad that two of us were able to get together. We both grew up and suffered for living with pollution on extremely polluted lakes and streams. In fact, I think the Cuyahoga River was made famous because it caught on fire many years ago. So it's hard, to overlook that as you move. And I do think the role of government changed considerably since those days, but not enough. With that thought, I will thank Kellie for sharing her work and commitment to climate activism, and that you have been inspired by her and the Earth Guardians. So before signing off, I want to leave you with a brief story brought to us by Tina Pugliese with the 2024 Indigenous Youth Initiative participants, and to thank you for giving the two of us your time and attention to our conversation.
What does an Indigenous future look like to me? Looks like us.
And why I'm so passionate about Indigenous futures is because the youth are the future and we will lead the way, and we're planting the seeds of a revolution, and I think that revolution is so imaginary and so expansive, and I think it includes us being liberated as well as being so free. And I'm yearning for a freedom that our ancestors weren't granted, and I'm yearning a freedom for my future children and my future grandchildren, a freedom of imagination, a freedom of radical joy. And I think that's what is in store for an Indigenous future.